Mark Alley joined Emergent Biosolutions in March 2010 as the Senior Director of Risk Management and Public Affairs after a 24-year career with the Lansing Police Department in Lansing, Michigan. In February 2011, Alley was given the additional responsibility of corporate security for the entire company. At Emergent, Alley is responsible for corporate protective services, business continuity, emergency management, internal and external communications, and charitable giving for the Lansing site. As the Lansing Chief of Police for 10 years, Alley was responsible for more than 340 sworn and civilian personnel in the capital city of Michigan.
All right. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate that. How's your day going? Oh, wow. Actually, enthusiasm. I love it. I love it. All right. So you heard in my bio that I am a former police officer, actually chief of police for the city of Lansing, retired from that, and took a career in the private sector, working for a company called Emergent Biosolutions. We do have sites not only across the country, but across the world, and we're probably best known for we're the only makers of the anthrax vaccine. And we make that in Lansing, Michigan. But we've got a number of other products, and obviously security is an important thing for us. And as you can imagine, staying in business is also very important to us. So having incident management plans and business continuity plans are important. So what I'm going to share with you today, and I've tailored it a little bit for the libraries that you work at, but I'm going to talk with you about some things that you should be thinking about and some plans that you can actually put in place yourselves to prepare for a critical incident. So when we think about critical incidents, I have you look at the board behind me, and you might look on that and think, gosh, I don't think, or I've never had a situation like this happen, or maybe some of you have experienced some of these situations. But I almost guarantee that if you do your occupation long enough, you will experience one or more of these events. And there is a significant difference between being prepared for an event and pre-planning and thinking it through versus not being prepared. Okay? So we're gonna talk about this. We're going to talk a little bit about the phases of the incidents, and then once again some plans that you can put together. So the first thing we need to talk about is what's the difference between a minor incident and a critical incident. All right. Well, I think it goes without saying that a minor incident is going to be something that's temporary, and it might disrupt your business. I'm just going to speak business in general, your library or wherever you work. It might disrupt that. But generally speaking, it's not going to be something where you're going to be out of operation for a full day or multiple days. It's something that you can take care of fairly quickly. So we give an example here of a staff member slips and twists their ankle. They might need to go to the hospital. You might have an ambulance there. You might have to call someone in on overtime, so on and so forth. But generally speaking, we don't need a lot of plans for that. Okay, we have probably a pretty good idea that through common sense, we can respond to that probably fairly effectively without too big of a deal. It's these things that we call crisis that become a little bit more tricky. And if you look up there about some potential negative consequences to a crisis, and these are just a few. There are obviously many more that we could put up there. But think about it if at your site that you actually had a death or a threat to life, substantial damage to the reputation of your library or your organization, credibility, or an adverse financial impact, like an embezzlement or something like that goes on. Okay? That is not going to be dealt with in the matter of hours. Okay? And you're going to have a choice to make. Either you can deal with the situation effectively, or you find yourself having the situation deal with you. And I think we all would much prefer to have somewhat control over anything that happens. So if you really wanted to prepare, you could actually do an abbreviated risk assessment, okay, where you think about all the things that either have happened at libraries or at your site, or all the things that could happen, and then you actually chart them out. Okay, so you chart them out based on the likelihood of them happening, and then the actual consequences of them going on. So you see the chart up here, It's that we got tripped on uneven terrain. Okay, that happens. Right? It's kind of that minor thing. Well, what are the odds of that happening? Well, that's pretty likely. I mean, that's going to happen, and the consequences on that are really negligible. It's probably not a big deal. The things that we're really concerned about end up being in these columns right here. These critical, catastrophic events. So if we have things that line up in this likely impossible and in these critical and catastrophic areas, then certainly those are things that we probably want to have a plan for. Now, there might be some things that fall in the catastrophic column that you might say, gosh, they are just so remote, it probably will never happen. But it's so catastrophic that you say, you know what, I'm going to have a plan in place just in case. Just in case, and that's the reason that we have 100-year floods, 500-year floods, And sometimes we have those like every other year. Remember that? Remember you ever had a flood that goes, oh, we had a 100-year flood, oh, we're good. And then 2 years later, oh, here's another one. I guess we're going to go another 200 or 300 years without having one. So it goes without saying that things happen. So there's 3 phases to every incident. And we're going to talk more in depth about this. And you might wonder where I got this from, and I actually made this up. I know you're looking at me like, who does this guy think he is? Well, I know. And the reason I made it up was because of this. So when I went to the private sector, see, in the police department, we were really good at responding to stuff. And we would respond to catastrophic incidents, and it would be catastrophic for those involved. For us, it was like, kind of another day at work. And we do multiple ones of those every day. I mean, every day you're thinking, I'll probably have something catastrophic today. And you're thinking, gosh, how can that be? Well, it is. That's the way it is. When I found when I went into the private sector, that there wasn't a lot of catastrophe going on. But there was a fear that it could go on. And every day that we were out of business or that we couldn't operate was potentially millions of dollars. Okay, so that gets your attention. And the place where I work, we were talking, and the site head there, a guy by the name of Adam Havey, really bright guy, he says, I want business continuity plans. And I'm thinking to myself, great, what's a business continuity plan? So I do what I do best, I go to the library. I know, right? You like that? Yeah, right. I actually have a graduate degree from Michigan State, so I used to spend a lot of time in the library. And I teach, did I say that in my intro? I teach at Michigan State. Last 18 years, I've been an adjunct professor. So my students just handed in their papers last night. I got a big stack to read this weekend. I can't wait. But I require them to do research, okay, because that's how we figure out things. So I have my students do some research, and I go and I look up business continuity, and I educate myself and get with some consultants. And I get some really bright people internally to work with me. And we started working on these plans. We thought, well, that doesn't really get us. I mean, somehow we've got to be able to make sure that people are ready for a plan. So we developed this thing called a General Security Practices Plan. And basically what that was is this was a plan. It was kind of thin, short, probably 25 pages, of various incidents that we have all our employees train on. And we have one at each of our sites. And they're a little bit different, but who to call if, and what we want you to do if there's an active violent incident, like you learned about earlier today, what we want employees to think about, what happens if there's a fire, what happens if there's a tornado. I've got some sites that are in areas where there's hurricanes, so what do you do if there's a hurricane, blizzard, so on and so forth. And this is how we want people to respond. So that's kind of the first phase of an incident. It's the training of the employees that when the bad thing happens, boom, they know what to do. The second phase of every incident is called, responding to the incident, is an incident management plan. Now, I know a little bit about that because I'm actually trained in what's called the incident command system. And I actually became a trainer in that. So I trained trainers, or have in the past before I got old, in this thing called the incident management system, incident command system. And that really became valuable after 9/11. Okay, remember that? So basically, every fire department, if you see a fire department show up to something, they are using the incident command system to manage the incident. Police departments a little bit less so, but they still utilize it. So these concepts really work for anyone. So we put together a plan. Now this plan is a little bit meatier. Okay, per site it's about 400 pages. Okay, oh yeah, it's hefty. Yours doesn't have to be like that. I'm not suggesting, but because of what we do and the hazardous materials and we got anthrax there, it's important that we've got plans in place. So we have the incident management plan, and then we have business continuity plans. So basically, the general security practices plan prepares our employees for if the bad thing happens. The incident management plan, we use that. We've realized the bad thing. We have to manage the incident, okay? Once it gets stabilized, then we move on to business continuity plans. And business continuity plans are how do we stay in business while we are recovering or getting back to what you call the new normal, okay? So 3 sets of plans. So general, I'll let you read the screen. You're all librarians. I know you all can read. So you look at the screen there. It kind of outlines what we're looking for, but it's pretty much what I've already said. It's that it's a document that we put together for how we want employees to respond. So by a show of hands, how many of you have a document? You don't have to name it. We just threw a name on it because I ran security. How many of you have a document there, a handbook or something that tells employees, look, if these things happen, this is how we want you to respond? Great, the majority of you. Perfect. Not everyone, but the majority. And that's just kind of basic stuff, right? We want to know what to do. Incident management plan's a little bit different, okay? So in terms of managing an incident, there's always 3 goals, right? And if you don't remember anything else, I'm asking you to remember this. And these goals, the nice thing about this is that these go in order, okay? So number 1, every incident is life safety, okay? We always protect life first. Before we do anything else, we protect life, right? If that means that we need to get people out, we need to get them out. If that means that whatever we need to do, provide immediate first aid, we provide immediate first aid. So no matter what, we protect life. Number 2 is that once life is protected, we do this thing called incident stabilization, okay? And that means we take the steps that are necessary to bring the incident as best we can under control. And sometimes bringing it under control for us, that means calling 911, okay? Getting the police department there, getting the fire department there, sheltering, going to the basement for a tornado, okay? We're stabilizing the incident. And the last piece is property conservation, okay? So in that order, if we have a small fire in one of your libraries, we've got people that are out, and we've called 911, and we've got the ability to pick up a fire extinguisher and put out the trash can fire, we want to do that. Okay, we want to limit if we've been trained and safe to do that, we want to do it. So property conversation comes last. The other thing is, the other thing about incident management plans, I guess I'll go back here for a second, is we're going to have checklists, okay? And the fun thing about putting these together is that you've got a list of potential incidents, and you put together checklists because we all like checklists. At least I do. And the reason that we like checklists is that when we're stressed and we're, under fire, so to speak, it's hard to remember everything you were supposed to do. And this might be hard for you to believe, but people don't know this. I actually had some checklists that no one knew about when I was the chief of police, right? Now, what do you think, as the chief of police in Lansing, I might have some checklists in my desk on? Pull out my desk drawer for what? Pull out my checklist for what? How about an officer-involved shooting? Right? Now, I've got procedures in place, but those procedures are for the officers. I had my own special set of things that, as the chief, I needed to make sure that I did. Okay? So I'd, check. So we want to make sure that we have these checklists. So now I'm going to go up here. So here is an example of what you might find in an incident management plan when you're talking about a serious injury or death. So, number 1, provide immediate medical attention, and that falls under life safety, right? Simple. We know we need to do that. Collect all additional information from police, hospital, family, witnesses, whatever. So we want to gather information because we don't want to be in the dark, and we want to implement a communication chain. Now, once again, by a show of hands, how many of you have a call tree or neighborhood watches use them that you know that who you need to call, and then they might go down another level who they're going to call in case you have an incident? So maybe a few fewer hands. probably the most valuable piece of information you could have. So if you don't have one of these, I would highly recommend that you put one together. All right? Because what you don't want to do as being the head person at your organization is that you're responsible for calling everyone, because that can take time. If you can call a certain number of people and then give them the message and then they call everyone else, that frees up your time to do other important activities like running your organization. Okay, so legal counsel. Okay, if you had an incident, all right, is there an attorney that you already have a contract with that you could contact? If the answer is no, you probably want to have, we all need legal counsel on occasion. Okay, we all need legal counsel. So being able to already have that in the pipeline and able to call, it's going to be very helpful to you. And then your insurance information, your insurance agent. When the bad thing happens, all right, what insurance people, they want to see it. All right, before you start moving stuff around and cleaning as best they can, they like to be, at least have the opportunity to do that. So having that information available to you is great. We're going to talk about some media relations. I'm not sure if that was covered with you earlier today, but I'm going to talk with you a little bit about some rules about working with the media. But the question is that do you have a spokesperson that is trained and ready to talk to the media? Because when the bad thing happens, the media is going to show up, all right? And you've got to be comfortable with that. You've got to be, and if you've never done it before, you might think to yourself, this is easy as a piece of cake, until, the camera's in your face, and all of a sudden it's like, all right? You want to, and they provide training like that out there. I would highly recommend that you take advantage of that. Document your actions, and then obviously if they're for the serious injury, you want to do appropriate follow-up with the victim's family. So here's here, and we talked about the call list. Here's an example of what a call tree. So John Smith is the CEO for this example, or the head librarian, and they've got the responsibility to call 4 people, and then it works its way down from there. So that's what a call tree. Pretty easy. All right, business continuity plans. So we use those once the disaster has happened and it's stabilized and the dust has settled, so to speak, and the police have left, fire department's left, and only the yellow tape is flapping in the wind. I know what you think. Don't the cops pick that up? Not always, right? You might have to just do that yourself, and you could save it. You put it in your drawer, use it for something else some other day if you want. We don't care. But anyway, so if it's there, and the thought is that, gosh, how long am I going to be down for? Now, here was a trick when I started these at my company. Because we are so regulated by so many government agencies in terms of what we call it good manufacturing practices and blah, 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 blah. It's that, we can't do this, we can't do that. And I finally got to the point where I told people, I said, well, if this happened, we're going to be out of business and none of us have jobs. So I guess we all need to dust off our resumes. Well, we don't want that. Well, there you go. Neither do I. I'd like to keep this gig for a little while. So if I'm going to keep it, let's think about a way that we can actually stay in business. Now, I want you to think about this. How long, legitimately, could your library be out of business and you still feel okay about it? Because this is a question, it's really important that you answer this. Okay? For our business, we have a dollar amount, and that equates to a number of days out of production. All right? So I know that I can be out blank many days that equates to this amount of money. All right? And I need to be at least back in somewhat operation with this time. And I need to have a business continuity plan in place that no matter what happens, that I can actually get there. Now, if the Lansing site where we manufacture the anthrax vaccine, it's called BioThrax, by the way, gets wiped out by a tornado, can I recover from that in 17 days? Just let me tell you this. We've been working on a new manufacturing site on that location for over 5 years to get it approved through the FDA, and we're still working on it. Okay? The reason that your medicine costs a lot of money is that there's lots of rules and regulations that make sure that it's safe. Okay? So lots of hoops to go through. So if we get wiped out by, a level 5 tornado, I'm not going to be back up and running within 17 days. That is so catastrophic, there's nothing that we could do. But There are other things. There are little small pieces of our operation that if they go down, we're hurting. Okay? And we need to have plans in place on how we're going to back up from that. So you need to decide what is that amount of time for you. Every place is going to be a little bit different. So here's the information is contained in the BCPs. And the important thing about this is that at the point where you're using your business continuity plans, you need to kind of lose the thought of, well, I can't believe this happened. It doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter if you've got an active violent shooter or tornado came through or whatever. You are down. Okay? So the sooner you can just get past the idea of, mentally that I can't believe this happened and deal with your critical functions, we're going to talk about in a minute, and get back into operation mode, the better off you're going to be. So here's a graph that kind of shows and it's a little bit hard to see. So you're going along normal operations and boom, the bad thing happens. And you are out of business. So it's going to take you a good piece of time to get back to what you would call normal operations. Either back to the way things are, or the nice term that consultants like to use who do these plans, the new normal. The new normal. Yeah, that's right. Oh, I used to have this beautiful, not anymore. You don't got that anymore. This is what you got. This is what you can afford. Oh man, it could be better. It might not be as good, but it's going to be the new way you do business. Your business continuity plans let you, from a minimalist standpoint, continue your operations. Now, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to give you a scenario that kind of walks through how to use these plans, but I want you to keep thinking about this because there's an important point here. There is a difference between you being at home and going camping, and this is how I explain it to the people that I work with. When you institute business continuity plans, I want you to picture yourself going on a camping trip. All right? You do not have all the comforts at home. And during your business continuity plans, you are not going to have if you're used to a big spacious office, with your own bathroom, and your filing system and stuff, yeah, you're probably going to have a cube someplace. And you go, oh, I can't work like that. Sure you can. Matter of fact, I guarantee that you can. Matter of fact, I bet you that you and your whole staff can work in a little tiny room if need be. Yeah, you could, if you wanted to. All right? The problem is having the mindset of you and your employees that yes, we can do it. And one way to get to yes, we can do it before they're shocked is that when you go through the plans and you say, okay, if we lose this part, we are all going to operate out of here. Let me show you what it's going to look like and have them look at it. Yes, this is how we're going to operate for the time being until we get back to normal operations. Because when you go camping, you can't take everything with you from home. You're not going to have the comforts of home. So think about, it's going to be rough for a while, but that's okay. You're going to be fine because you're going to continue in business. So how do you build a business continuity plan? Actually, it's not that hard. Okay, it is not that hard. These are did we give you guys the printout on this? Oh, you're so lucky. See, you don't have to take notes. You just go back to your office and do it. So step number 1, okay, you identify the critical functions. So normally, you've got about 6 to 12 critical functions. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've got 100 things that I critically have to do. No, you don't. So stop it. I'm telling you right now, don't go there. Well, you can go there. Just remember my voice. Stop. All right? What are the most critical things that you have to do to run your operation? Okay? What might that look like? Well, I got to process payroll. Yep, we got to pay people. I got to have a check-in and check-out of books, because we're a library. Yep, check, agreed. We got to keep records, however that is. So whatever those things are, if you have a list of over 12, you need to rethink. Critical functions, the things that you have to do to get by. Our first priority always is to do an on-site relocation. Okay, so if you lose part of your building, can you operate at a different site, a different portion on site? Okay, no, that's the easiest thing. All right, think about it like this: in your home, all right, you had a fire and you lost an extra bedroom. All right, or your master bedroom. All right, if you have more than one bedroom, yep, we can move and we can sleep in another bedroom while we're cordon it off and get it fixed. All right? It's on-site relocation. All right? Step number one. And here's the tricky part. It may mean that you displace non-critical functions. Right? Now, this is going to be hard for people because you're going to have folks that are working in an area that had no impact, and they're thinking, why do I have to get moved out? It's a team. All right? There's no I in team, but there's me. Right? Is that T-E-A? Yeah, I can make me out of that. So we all got to work together. So that means that we might displace someone in their operation to move a more critical operation in its place. That's a good thing. That's not bad. All right, and people need to understand that. All right, so you got to help get them there. Got to help get them there. Option number 2, off-site relocation. What is the minimum required space? Do you have accessibility considerations and cost considerations? So, is there another county building, another city building, another state building? Could you rent space? All right, have you already thought about that? Could you do the bookmobile? Okay. Never did. Yes, you can. Right? Sure, you could. There's lots of things you can do. Having that thought out beforehand, all right, and saying, okay, if we have to move off-site, these are the preferences of where we're going to go. And better yet, we've already have agreements in place with these locations that all I got to do is pull the string and boom, it's done. We're moved. Right? So that's our second option. Contract services. Okay, well, who are the contract services that you could call to perform critical functions? So, going back to our earlier thing, if we needed a contractor to come in to do temporary payroll accounting, help servicing customers, who would we call? All right, you have that written down. You have the person's name, the contractor, their phone number, so on and so forth. Easy, right? All easy stuff that you can have in a book that you're praying that you never have to use. Other services that you might need, might you have to have security brought in? You might think to yourself, I could never think of a situation where I'd need to bring security in. Really? Never? Nothing? I don't know. You have a shooting in your building? Do you think people are going to come run into your library the next day? Do they want to feel safe? Yeah. But might it be worth a few dollars to have a security company come in for a month? Maybe. That's your call. But having it listed out and knowing what you're talking about and the costs, it's a great thing to have. Construction companies, public relations experts, accountants, you can read the list there, all right? All the things that you think you might need as in terms of contractors, if you want to call them instead of going to the yellow pages and, gosh, I've never talked to this person before, but I guess I'll try them, right? That's not the way we want to operate in a disaster. Critical equipment. So when I say critical equipment, I don't mean something that you can go and pick up at Staples. Okay, that's not critical equipment, all right? But critical equipment could be, my guess is you might have a software system that's specific to your library, okay? If you had to replace that, right, what would be your process of going through to replace that, right? And I'm assuming that there might be other things that you use that would be critical, that it's not just off the shelf, all right? That might take some lead time to get. So what's the list of that? Now, this thing called disaster recovery, people use business continuity and disaster recovery interchangeably. All right, I'm going to get a little technical on you. They're not the same thing. Business continuity is everything that you do to a physical environment, basically, to keep up and running, and your people. Disaster recovery has to do with technology. Okay, so if you get the bad virus and it wipes out your system and you need to back it up or get a backup in, that's disaster recovery. Those are IT experts, and they're the ones that do that. If you don't have a backup system for your IT infrastructure, I would highly recommend that you get with someone and get that in place. All right, crisis communications fundamentals. Let's talk about how we're going to communicate. So who are your stakeholders? Well, the mistake that we make is that we think to ourselves, our only important stakeholders are our employees. We don't care about anybody else. All right? We need, because we're in charge and we're leaders, we need to treat people and organizations equally. All right? So you think about all of the organizations that could be a stakeholder of yours, public safety, employees, customers. It's all important that we communicate with them. Candid, accurate, timely communication. What happens is that when the bad thing happens, we have a tendency to And all of a sudden, time just flies by. And the next thing you know, 3 hours has passed. And your communications, you really haven't done any because you're busy dealing with the incident, all right? Don't let that happen to you, all right? The major fall of every critical incident that happens is communication. We always mess it up. I mess it up, you're going to mess it up, and when you think you've communicated enough, you're about 1/10 of the way there. Let me say that one more time. When you think you've done enough, you're about 1/10 of the way there. I've never seen anyone over-communicate during a crisis. I'm watching for it. I'm waiting. Accurate information, that's tough because you're going to be working on limited information. Look at the media. Look at the Malaysian airliner that just went down. All right? Those poor people that you can tell they tried to communicate, they did, and then what happened to them? Right? They're getting killed. Right? I mean, they're just, and then what happens? What happens is that when you start getting negative press, you think, I'm just going to shut up. That's the worst thing you can do. You cannot stop communicating. All right? We call that in the business bunkering down. As soon as you bunker down, you've lost. And you're going to get pummeled. You're going to get pummeled. It's just, it's bad. So don't do that. So we want to minimize the negative impact on the organization's reputation. And we want planning and training that leads to communications readiness. So what are our goals? Well, we want to foresee potential crisis situations and prepare for them. And preparing for them means not only thinking through it, but having these things called standby statements. All right? You can write that down, standby statements. So if Kate, if this is a problem of sitting in the front row, if someone were to get, boom, killed in your library, what are you going to say when the media shows up? Kate! Oh, shit, that's right. Kate said it, I repeated it. Yes. Yes. I know. That's how we all feel. That's how we all feel. The only difference between me and you, Kate, is that about a bazillion times I've had someone come up with a camera like me and say, what do you think about? And I was like, well, blah, 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 blah. You know? And I had a knack at the end of my tenure as chief. I could talk and not say anything. Matter of fact, I time me on this. See how long I could go with talking without actually saying anything of substance. I would talk about policies and procedures and rules and on and on and on and on and on. And I know the media, they'd get back to their office and go, they watch the tape, he didn't say anything. Yeah. I know. Again, I know. So we want messaging. We want to respond rapidly. We want to gather information. And we want to make good decisions. Some more goals. We want to be proactive. Right? Now, during a crisis, I know what we're thinking. If I don't say anything, maybe no one will notice. That's bad. Bad. It's always better for you to go to them versus waiting for them because they're coming. Oh, they're coming. Yeah, they are coming. So you want to communicate with your employees, with your customers, with the public through the media. Use the media as a tool. Okay? You are getting your message out there to all of your constituents, and it's great. You're talking to 100,000 people here in Lansing. It's fabulous. In the region, there's about 500,000 people. At any time they got the news on, you're getting your message out there. It's great. Single spokesperson, if possible. What do you want a single spokesperson for? Oh, consistency of message. Absolutely. Yeah. Because even though we're well-intended, how I say it and how you say it is going to be a little bit different. And that little bit different, people will catch on to. Well, Bill said this, and Al said that, and Sally said this. Not good. Single spokesperson if you can. Prepare thoroughly and speak consistently. So you want to do preparation. And assume the worst and plan accordingly. Okay? So we're going to assume, so when we're doing our planning, what's the worst things that can happen and how are we going to respond to it? Let's talk about the media. Fundamentals. Number one, they got a First Amendment guarantee, right? And freedom of information. Media is considered the watchdog of a free society, right? They've got a job to do. Now, their job is not to make you look bad. We will do that on our own, right? They're also not going to make you look good, necessarily. So that means that, Alexis, if you got something green on your teeth, and you watch yourself and there's something green, why didn't they tell me? They're not going to tell you. So what do? You always do a check first, you always go, and they'll give you time. Yeah, give a mirror, make sure your tie's done, you look okay, whatever. That your hair looks like it's going to be, and then, they say that the camera adds 10 pounds. I'm thinking more like 40 or 50. Because all I know is that when things were bad for me, they'd get the camera and they'd be just like this. And I'm thinking, can you really see anything, when you're like this far away from my face? And then they'd show me on the news, Mark Alien, they show like this much. I look like a criminal, in the square. Well, that's kind of a bad thing happened. And then, do not have animosity with reporters. I'm begging you. What's the old saying? You never get into an argument with people who buy ink by the barrel and tape by the trainload. You will lose. Just be nice. No matter what we call in my job, the old job, is a hatchet job. If you think that you read an article and you just can't believe it, next time you see the reporter, just smile. Smile, yeah. Matter of fact, the best thing is this is being taped, right? That's all right. I'm going to tell you this anyways. When I left as chief, I was doing, after 10 years of that, and I had talked to a reporter, and they're doing like the final, it's kind of like my obituary. I'm dead as a chief. And they're interviewing me. I said, I think I was treated fairly by the media overall. I was treated fairly. And the reporter said, I don't think that's necessarily true. I was shocked. I said, you admit it! I think that too, I just didn't want to tell you. We never think, because we always want the story to go positive to us, right? You watch the news, and what you're thinking is, you're watching the news, if it's not about you, you're thinking, that's probably pretty balanced. All right? If it's about you, there's no balance about it. They slam me. All right? The media looks to balance stories. That's how they report, generally speaking. Now, you get on some of the cable news, and they've got opinions and stuff. But you watch your news, your local news. Generally speaking, their goal is to put a balanced story. Balance means is that half of it's going to go your way, half of it's not going to go your way. That's balance, and that's life. Okay. Okay. So we want to cooperatively provide information. We don't want to attempt to withhold information. Make sure that the information provided is accurate. Work with the media to get information out. Understand they have deadlines. So what's the deadline for the newspaper? Yesterday. Yeah. Right? About 9 o'clock, right? About 9 o'clock at night. Right? About 9 o'clock at night. What about the TV? Local news. Sometimes they do breaking news. But generally speaking, they have a news at 5, maybe 5:36, at 10 or 11, depending on where you're at. All right, yeah. So understand that if you say, I'm going to get back with you later, what does later mean? Because later for them means, am I going to miss the news, and is the other station going to get a scoop on me? All right? So you need to understand, look at the clock. So we had something right now and say, okay, it's 5 to 3. Probably the latest that I would feel comfortable in getting back with them and have them still respect me the next day is 4 o'clock. Okay, at the very latest. They're going to want it now. They might wait an hour, but it better be for good reason. Okay? I like this last one. View the media like an animal. It must be fed when it's hungry, because if you don't feed it, it will eat you. I don't know if you know this, but every night the news goes on. They got about 20 minutes or 18 to fill. And they're going to fill it with something. It will be filled. And if they just got to blab about you, or someone who doesn't like you for whatever reason, That's what they'll fill. All right. If you have people that work with you, and you can give the media hell here, call this person. They'll be happy to give you an interview. They'll tell you about how wonderful our library is. They're making their job easy. But if you leave them to their own devices, right, you're going to get what you get, and you shouldn't throw a fit. So I'm told. Don't get mad at reporters. Cooperate with them. Clear understanding of each other's roles. Off the record. Oh, this is advanced media. First and foremost, I would recommend you don't use that. Okay, you don't deal with the media enough to use that. In my world, where I dealt with them and my people dealt with them on a daily basis, we could use off the record. Okay, this is how this works. If you're curious, you ask me a question, I can't really answer it for you. Alexis, can I go off the record? You're the reporter. Either you say yes or no. Okay, you say yes. The rule is that everything I say is forbidden. I'm going to give you some color around it. Okay, we're back on the record. Now I know everything I say can be used. All right? Tricky business. All right? It's safer if you just understand everything you say is going to be used. And if someone has a camera going at you and they say off the record, now you're really taking a risk. All right? So I wouldn't necessarily use that. But depending on how much you use it, that's the rules. And the media will tell you. They'll tell you that's what the rules are. Favorite nation status. All right. So, in your community, you've got reporters that cover your area, all right? And the bad thing happens, and you're kind of giving information, and all of a sudden, Barbara Walters comes into town. You're, oh, it's Barbara Walters. I love Barbara Walters. Oh, please interview me, Barbara Walters. Blah, 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 blah. And then what happens? Barbara flies out of town, they'll never see you again. And there you're left with your local reporter, who is pissed because you gave Barbara Walters something you wouldn't give them. It's called favorite nation status. Under no circumstances do you ever do that. Never give the national media something that you don't give either equally to or before to your local media. All right, so let's talk about a scenario. Okay, you just had some training today. It's approximately 10:30 a.m. on a Tuesday when you hear gunfire in your library. You look and see a man with a gun in the southwest corner of your building. Nothing good about this. You and your employees remember your training on your general security practice plan. You remember the 3 goals of every incident: life safety, incident stabilization, property conservation, in that order. Because of your pre-planning, you know there is no place to securely hide. So you follow your plan and pull the fire alarm so everyone evacuates the building. Life safety. You call 911, incident stabilization. Upon exiting the building, you continue to hear gunfire and see smoke coming from the building. The police and fire departments arrive about 5 minutes later. Police tactically enter the library and find 5 deceased people inside. The fire department enters and extinguishes the fire. The fire department battalion chief states that the fire was intentionally set in the men's restroom. There is significant damage to the restroom and some smoke and water damage to the children's book section. You reference your incident management plan, and you start the incident communication chain. You follow your checklists and the plan for fire, death, and criminal incident. And you'll have a section in your plan for each one of those. You've got a statement already prepared for the media, your standby statement. It's at 6:30 p.m., and the police and fire departments have left. Now you're on your own. You've gone inside the library and determined that restoration needs to occur. You've communicated to the media that the library will not be open tomorrow, and you will provide another update by 3 p.m. tomorrow. So you're telling them that this is when I'm going to give you the update. You made contact with your insurance agent, and you're still in your incident management plan. You notified by the police that it appears to be a murder-suicide. And a man shot and killed his wife and their 5-year-old son. 2 library patrons started a fire in the men's restroom and shot and killed himself. And just so happens, we got a little article where that actually happened. Business continuity. You reference your business continuity plan and contact the pre-approved smoke and water restoration contractor. You also contact the general contractor for repairs to the bathroom. You make arrangements for portable restrooms to be delivered to your site, and the contractors assist you in segregating off designated areas. An environmental health coordinator, contractor is brought in the next day and certifies the library is safe for occupancy. You contact a neighboring library who agrees to loan you an allotment of children's books. As part of your plan, you remove 4 of the 10 computers in your computer lab and make space for the books. 3 days from the start of the incident, you are back open for business. Restoration/rebuilding process takes 4 weeks to complete. You're back to normal operations 1 month after the incident, but only closed for operation for 3 days. That's how they work. Pretty snazzy, isn't it? Final thought. A goal without a plan is just a dream. Now, I got that from my dentist. She said that, and I thought, that is great. Can I use that? She said, yeah. I use it teaching at MSU all the time. All right? So we could be, we could use the old, gosh, I hope and pray nothing happens, and chances are nothing major will. All right? That's this. But if you want to be proactive and be a good steward of your community's money, I would highly suggest that you have some plans in place. Perfect timing.
And folks will ask, and I'll repeat it into the mic.
All right.
Get it all.
Questions? No one has a question?
Oh, no, Croy. You guys want to get out of here. You got one right in the front row, second row.
Do you have any suggestions for where one might get media training?
Yeah. So it depends on where you're located, but if you go to the Yellow Pages or the Internet, Google, and there are public relations specialists. In Lansing, they're all over the place. And generally, they will provide training programs. For media training, it's like a one-day thing where they'll give you a more advanced version of what I gave you today, more in depth, and then they'll actually say, okay, this incident happened, they're going to record you, let you see yourself, what you look like on television, how you answer the questions. It's great fun.
Should librarians communicate the active shooter plan to patrons at the risk of giving too much to a potential shooter?
That is a great question. I think that what I would do is that if it were for me, I would rather have my employees and myself know what we're going to do if there's an active shooter, which means is that remember the kind of the 3 things, the life safety being first. So I kind of made a judgment call that, so I wasn't here for your earlier training, even though I am somewhat familiar with the active shooter. Actually, I'm really familiar with it because I was chief of Lansing when Columbine happened, so we really changed how we responded to these incidents. With that being said, is that you need to make a decision on what are you going to do. Are you going to have people get out? Are you going to have them lock themselves in room and barricade? So on and so forth. I'll tell you who's got a great tape. I'm sure your training here was good. The city of Houston, if you Google that, they've got a 5-minute video that shows how to react during an active violent shooter incident. It is fabulous. Matter of fact, I got it and I sent it to my wife and kids. Now, my wife, not so much because she's a retired police officer too, but stuff that you want your kids to know. So, you understanding that you've got a plan in place and what you're going to do is probably more important than because you're open to the general public trying to educate the general populace about what to do. People want to be led during times of crisis, and you are it. You and your staff are the leaders. It's going to be your responsibility to do the best you can to take care of them, in my opinion.
No more questions right now? Okay.
Well, you've been a fabulous group. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.